How's everybody doing? This is Ken Licklider coming to you from Von Lick Kennels. We're trying to do a blog bi-weekly just to put out things to think about, put out things that I think are important. Like I said, I'm Ken Licklider. I've got 46 years in dogs, retired military, and I own and operate Von Lick Kennels here in Denver, Indiana. I just like to talk about some things. These are subjects that are dear to me. These are subjects that I think people need to understand and know are happening. One of the major things that I talk in my classes and when I travel around and teach are things that we're doing that were developed back in the 70s. They were developed in the military, and I use the military because that's my background, but we get out of the military and we become involved in the civilian police, and we have a lot of influence on what's going on. So back in the late 70s, Vietnam had ended, and we shifted from defense-oriented dogs to prey. We understood about sport dogs and how they were trained. We saw that you could be around them. Our defense-oriented dogs in Vietnam, you couldn't be within 9 feet of them or they would, eat you up. So we got out into this and we started training peacetime. And our commanders in the military, they saw a lot of problems. These guys were coming back from Vietnam. And in Vietnam, everybody drank. Everybody smoked a little dope. And they were in a wartime situation, so they were pretty fired up. Well, they got back to the States and they didn't stop drinking. They didn't stop smoking a little dope. And our clubs and our bases were fun to be a dog handler, fun to be a cop, because they were partying and they were raising hell and there was a lot to do. But our commanders, they didn't want it. They wanted to straighten things up. They wanted things to become peacetime. So they went to Licklider, they went to the school, and there was a Dr. Daniel Craig there who was the animal behaviorist. He was a very smart guy. I knew him very well. He's very smart. He did the monkeys that went up in the astronauts, when the monkeys went up to do tests. And they went to him and they said, hey, we've got a drug problem. Now they equated all this craziness to drugs, and it wasn't drugs, it was alcohol. And some would say we still have a bit of an alcohol problem. So he said to the trainers there, he said, the generals said, we need to get a bunch of drug dogs, because drug dogs wasn't a big push back then. We need to get a bunch trained, so let's start some classes. I'll use the term 500, I'm not sure the exact amount, but it was a bunch. Let's get them trained. So Dr. Craig had to come up with a plan. And the plan he came up with worked, because he knew that if you've got to get everybody certified and get them out on the street, you've got to gear that class towards the slowest, not the brightest, because you got to get them out there. So he made up that class, and in that class there were a lot of rules, but those rules he knew weren't what we want to stick with, but we got to do it to get these guys out. We got to tell the kennel masters back at the bases, here, this is why I did this. You guys could straighten it out when you get out there. And they seemed like small things at the time, but they weren't, because when these guys left, we were going to zero tolerance at the same time. So these guys got back there. A lot of people have been, let go from the military. So these new guys were the bosses. And they had learned this way from Dr. Craig. And let me give you some examples. Walking backwards, working a bomb dog. If I could see you, I'd ask you to raise your hand if you thought that was a good idea. But that's what was taught, with the expectations that it would go away. Well, you guys can look around. You guys know it hasn't gone away. We still have people out there teaching drug and bomb dogs to walk backwards looking for a bomb or drugs. Neither one is right. It's as wrong as you know what. Why would you walk backwards looking for anything? So that one was put out there, and with the expectations that it go away, and it didn't. Let me throw another. Right front headlight. Right front headlight. All you guys out there, I know you're going, what's he talking about? Well, Dr. Craig said thought he had to have a starting point for these guys that weren't as bright as all the rest of them could remember on where to start their search on an automobile. Now, we all know that's not correct. What does right front headlight have to do with anything? We should all know that if we're outside, we start on the downwind flank. We start on the downwind side, no matter where that's at. And we work the longest side to give the dog the advantage of picking up the odor being carried to them by the wind. But I'll tell you what, I've taught all around the world, and I'll ask this question, what does the right front headlight mean? And I'm telling you, I'm getting that answer today, 2023. And that was thought up in 1970 something. There's a lot of other examples. Telling a high drive dog to seek, and we've already taught him that he's looking for whatever we've taught him to seek, whatever target odor. And as soon as we tell him that, we step in front of him and we knee him in the head every time he tries to pass us. People, come on. We've got to stop. We've got to think. We've got these high drive dogs out of Europe. We didn't have them back then. We teach these dogs to find dope. We tell them to go seek it. We cut in front of them and block them. We tell them to search, but yet we put ourselves between them and the target odor. We know the odor's moving towards us. How long do you think a dog is going to keep searching at his highest potential when he knows you're going to stop him, when he knows you're going to correct him? We've got to stop. We've got to start learning how to work these dogs. We've got to trust these dogs. We've got to make them obedient to odor, not obedient to us. You know, now that's going to come across wrong to some of you. Sure, obedient, but they got to understand that it's the odor that drives the reward. And if we're always putting ourselves in between that odor and the reward, then they're going to start watching us. They're going to start cueing on us. It's very simple why we have dogs that watch their handlers, because there's a equation that I like to talk about. It's S equals R equals R. And in our definition here at Violent Kennels, I know some of the scientists have different ones, that's stimulus equals response equals reward. And to us, stimulus is the target odor. All right? Response is passive, not sit, passive. And reward is whatever toy or food or whatever we chose to give them. But it must come in that order. And so many times it's stimulus equals daddy stop and stare at him. Or stimulus equals daddy talk to him. Or stimulus equals reward equals stop the reward, hold it back, make them do something else. I'm open to new ideas, but training a detector dog is probably, it's very basic. These dogs that we're getting out of Europe now, they're extremely intelligent. They want to work, and all you've got to do is pair something up that they like to what you want them to find, and these dogs will do it all day long. I'm seeing too much being put into this, too much, making it too difficult. I think it's basic. I still teach. I leave my mind open. If I see something that you guys are doing smart, I'll steal it. But it's still basically the same way as I started doing in the 90s. There's something new coming out that's really got me concerned. We started training gun dogs probably 10 years ago. We put a lot of them out there. And I think they're necessary. You know, what's been happening down in Texas and around the United States and around the world with kids being killed, with guns being brought into schools. It needs to be stopped. It needs to be deterred. And a good dog can do that. So the gun dog has come into play. And we put a bunch in Puerto Rico because they had a big gun problem. And man, we've literally stopped it. We've put them in a lot of schools. We've put them in a lot of hospitals. It's amazing. But they're necessary. And we're a big proponent of getting them. In fact, I was working with our Congresswoman, Jackie Walorski, for half a year on getting this put to Congress. Jackie was behind us. She was into it. But Jackie died. Jackie died in a car accident back in August of last year. And it kind of slowed things down. God bless her. She was a big proponent of K9 and police. So now we're starting to work it back up. And here in the state of Indiana, we've got it passed through our Congress, and we're going for the Senate next. But we need to put a good dog, dual purpose dog. It could be single purpose, but if you put a good social dual purpose dog trained correctly on guns, and because it's illegal in schools, on drugs, you could put it on both. I think if there'd have been a dog inside that school, Uvalde, when that guy started shooting outside and he heard that dog fire up, I think he wouldn't have come in. And even if you had a good policeman with that dog that knew what his duty was, the dog's not going to stop the guy. Dogs lose against guns, but they'll slow him down. They'll make him change his course of action, hopefully just long enough for that good cop to take action. But we've come into a problem, and we publish a magazine from here, and it's getting ready to go out next week, called American Working Dog. We've come into a problem. This issue is dedicated to gun dogs around the world. But the problem we've come into is what we're doing with these gun dogs, what we're training these gun dogs on. One of the biggest and most common proponent of a pipe bomb is smokeless and black powder. If you look at the special on Columbine, there'll be a scene in there where they're showing Cleobold and the other one building the bombs that they built, and on their desk was shotgun shells and bullets, ammunition that hold smokeless and black powder. It's the number one ingredient in a pipe bomb. But yet, we have people out there, good people, that are training these gun dogs on ammunition, on powders. Think about it. If you do that, you're training a bomb dog. You're training a dog that will respond on a common bomb that's being produced out there to hurt people, to hurt you. It's silly, it's wrong. And I can't get people to understand it. But if you train him on those powders, he's going to hit on a bomb. And if he is trained on those, the other part of it is if every time your dog responds, you've got to treat it as a bomb. How often do you think hazmat? How often do you think the people that respond to bombs are going to come out if all that's there is some, gunpowder, some fireworks? Guys, gals, stop it. Train on unused guns of all types. Here at Violent Kennels, we've probably got 20 guns that have never been fired. And some say, well, they're all fired when they're produced. Well, yeah, and then they are left alone, ours are, and they are cleaned so well, and they're dried out, and they've been here forever. There is no gun odor. There is no gunpowder odor. We train on the guns themselves, and these dogs will find these guns anywhere. Anywhere. Long guns, small pistols, but don't put powders. Don't use recently fired weapons or weapons that you could honestly know that there's going to be powder residue. You don't need to do it. You're training a bomb dog that gun dog handler is going to think he's got a gun. He's going to open the trunk. He's going to pull the drawer open. He's going to do something that's going to put him in danger. We've got to think about what we're doing. We've got to think about what we're training the dog on. So think about it with these new gun dogs. Think about what you're doing. You can train a great gun dog on just simply guns. Our world has changed a lot in the last few years, and I've been doing it since the 70s. A lot of good things. We can always learn. I say this to everybody, there's more than one way to train a dog. If you're a good trainer, you're always learning, you're always listening, and you're not afraid to steal from your buddy and make that part of your curriculum. I listen when I go to the seminars. I'm leaving for Las Vegas next week, and I'll sit in a lot of classes, as many as I can, and I'm going to hear what people got to say. So I guess my message from me, Ken, is keep your eyes and ears open, keep your mind free, and never stop learning. Again, Ken Licklider from Von Lick Kennels. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. How's everybody doing?